Ghost Rider's team is beyond rad, by far one of the best reveals for Marvel Tokon so far. It's got a ton of people's favourites, and today's talking point of course being Blade. Blade has been around since the 90s in terms of popular media like the movies of course and the comics, but he's actually been around during the 1970s. He's been around for ages and Marvel's had so many opportunities to put him in a fighting game. However, this is his first fighting game ever. It'll be the first time that Blade will be playable in a fighting game, which is an insane statement to make because looking at his toolkit you could easily make a fighting game character out of this guy. And it gets even more insane as he's a popular pick. A ton of people who don't really care about Marvel love Blade. So the question is, why haven't they done that? Today's video will be talking about why some of the reasons Blade wasn't able to be playable in previous fighting games. And then I'll decide to break them down, go over everything from the trailer and from what they said on Twitter to let you know how his playstyle might play on launch of the game. I will say something about the gameplay though. A lot of assumptions will be made. So his history is quite long, right? Again, he's been around for ages, so where do we start? And let's start with like the oldest point possible, and that was the possible rumors of him arriving in Mortal Kombat and Injustice. Looking at games like Mortal Kombat and Injustice, these were perfect places for a guest character like Blade to arrive, and there were some rumors happening back in the day like why isn't he in these games? And I think it came down to writing issues. Of course, when you want to get a character like Blade, he's a part of the Marvel selling rights, so you have to basically sell an agreement to Marvel and in current day Disney. Back then it was just Marvel, but one of the issues of course, Mortal Kombat and Injustice are owned by a DC and Warner Brothers studio, so getting a Marvel character when there's supposed to be maybe more DLC arrivals would be near impossible. That's why we've not seen Blade in those games. It makes sense when you really think about it, like why would they put a character like that from a rival company without any good compensation? Because Marvel without a doubt would have charged a ton for letting them use Blade's likeness in another fighting game. Again, these were mostly rumours, there was nothing set in stone about Blade joining those games. It was a whole lot of speculation back in the day. But where was the one place that Blade could have absolutely shown up in, and that was in Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom is the perfect place for Blade, and it was very curious to why he didn't get in, because he was even in the conversations about adding him into the game. Well, there was many reasons why Blade couldn't make it into that game in the first place. Gameplay style. They thought that Blade would be too similar to the way Dante fights, even though we know that's BS. Dante's going to be based upon all of his weapons and what he uses in previous games, and getting that feel of Devil May Cry. Whereas Blade, you just need to get the feel of his toolkit. So I feel like this is partial laziness from the developers here, but you know what, whatever, who cares, right? And in the same statement, they were basically asked between Deadpool and Blade, and they chose Deadpool over Blade, thinking that they could make his fourth wall break gimmicks a bit more easier to work with compared to making Blade not like Dante. And to quote Ryota, if I'm saying that correctly, it's just too much of a similarity with Dante. And from my point of view, I heavily disagree with that. I really don't think there's a whole lot of similarity between the two in their fighting kit. Sure, they use swords and guns, but they could be used way differently. I don't see this. I really don't. I mean, with Blade and Deadpool, there's some similarities, but not a whole lot. You could have did a vampire gimmick, you could have made them based on like building up blood throughout the fight. There was so much more that you could have done to separate Blade from the other two. So in the end, they chose Deadpool over Blade to avoid a lot of similarities with the rest of the playstyles, and this made it so Blade was still unplayable up until 2017, making him one of the hardest characters that should have gotten a fighting game adaptation and hadn't got one in like 30 years. With this amount of time going by, nothing happened until the modern day where Arc System Works is taking up Blade's name and try and make him work in a fighting game for the very first time in Marvel Tokon. It's all on ArcSys to adapt the Vamp Killer perfectly, and I'm so curious how they're going to do them because we don't have a whole lot of info, except from this trailer, and if something comes from my assumptions that didn't happen or did happen, do not blame me, I'm just assuming from looking at the toolkit. First thing we need to look at, and it's not even the trailer, it's what they said on Twitter. They mentioned that he's up close and they want to focus between changing weapons, which I thought was super interesting, and a blood buff mechanic. His inner darkness into combat, and you know, mentioning the blood mechanic, it's almost like what I said earlier. There's so many ways to make him different from Dante. Deadpool And ArcSys kind of just took the idea that I said, just saying. So one of the problems looking at his normals, if he has a changed weapon mechanic, these normals could be completely different on the launch of the game. Like, he has some pretty standard quick normals with long reach, but these normals could completely change if there's a weapon swap mechanic. Like, again, that was the 2H, but here, I don't think this is a special move, but it could be another version of a 2H, but I don't know. The only assumption I can make is that his normals are long with reach and are very quick. Taking a look at the specials though, he has this move where he'll throw darts at the opponent. He could teleport to them, and I think he'll expend some of that blood meter that you're talking about for the dash, or maybe that's just part of the dash regular. Either or, this is what you're going to be doing after throwing the darts. But the first special move they show on the screen where he cuts through his opponent, this could be a left-right special, a lot like Virgil's from Marvel, where he'll cut through the opponent, and if it hits, he could potentially land a combo. So he may be a mixed demon. To go back to the darts, it looks like you can aim them up as well, so it isn't like you could just jump them. You can also maybe aim it up, or maybe it's a different special version, kind of like a misfinder where you can aim it mid, high, or low. So my assumption, you choose the version and then you react for the combo or the hit or whatever, and you just choose what you need at the moment. Special is also Air OK, looking like he's able to link it off of other specials, and I saw this thing and I don't think it's a normal. I think he's linking a special into a special. So the whole weapon swap mechanic might be a whole lot more than just your normals. And over here, he appears to do a multi-slash attack into a stanced up double hitting attack. This is definitely a special move, but it also looks like it could be a stance. I think this might be a hardcore stance that he has access to, and this might be the way he swaps his weapons if this is what it does. Obviously it'll be used on hit confirms 9 times out of 10, and neutral I don't think it'll have an application, but from this normal here or special or whatever, it might do, but we don't know yet. His assist looks decent on hit. As we know in Tokon, when you hit an opponent there will be an assist follow-up that will act the same no matter what, and for him it's a double hitting slash, giving you a huge avenue for a pickup, as there's so much hit stun in the timing that you'll have enough time to approach and hit the opponent even more. And lastly, from this 20-second trailer, the supers look rad. They look awesome. The one with the Uzi looking like it might give OK with the way it's set up. And the one he slashes through you, dead awesome style with the cherry blossom and the moon behind. It's rad. He just has fantastic supers across the board. My guess, he looks like an aggressive rushdown that's able to change between that into a more neutral heavy character with stances. We can't tell a whole lot, but we know that the darts will be a big part of his game plan, and getting in and running offense is what you're going to be doing with this guy 9 times out of 10. And I wish Arc System Works the best of luck in making this guy cook. But that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to like, hype, sub, and tell me what you think about Blade. Was there something that I missed, or was there something about the previous statements that I made that could use more info? That's everything from me, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!